Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Adventurous Ukuleles. We're doing a live stream again for the first time in over a month. And every time I'm filming videos without doing a live stream, I want natural light. It gives you so much better camera shots. And every time I'm doing a live stream, I don't really want natural light because it's flipping bright and I can't see anything. And it's always this way around. So I'm trying to block the sun out on actually quite a lovely morning here in Macclesfield in the UK. Welcome back. It's been a while since, not seen you, but since we did a live stream. This morning we are going to be looking at a jazzy number, absolute classic jazz song called Fly Me to the Moon, written in 1954 by Bart Howard, but made famous by Frank Sinatra and hundreds of other people over the years. And we're going to be exploring jazz chords again, just like we did when we played All of Me. It's definitely a stretch for your fingers. We're doing it in a key that we're not particularly used to, and we're going to be looking at extended chords. So definitely adventurous this morning. We're going to be looking at how we get to those extended chords as well. I've also got a few things to say about going forward with the channel, YouTube and live streams, and what other options there might be. So after we do our introductory video, then we'll have a talk about that. But first of all, let's have a listen to what we are going to be playing today. This is Fly Me to the Moon.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
And we're back. That was Fly Me to the Moon. I recorded that late last night, as always. Very well prepared for these live streams. You can find a link to the chords that we're going to be looking at in the video description just underneath. You should be able to find two versions of the chords. There's one on a chord chart, which just shows you the fingerings and the lyrics and when the chords arrive. And then there's a full score, which shows you the melody line as well, if you want to, say, play on a flute or sing the tune and you don't know the tune, or you want to play... it's more of a lead sheet with a melody line and the chords above it. I'm going to be working from the chord chart this morning, but feel free to use the score if you prefer. And we're on Adventurous Ukuleles. We only have a very few house rules. Keep your sarcasm relatively limited. That applies mainly to Andy. And for the rest of us, you need some sort of instrument. A ukulele is preferred, but we've had kazoos, we've had trumpets, we've had cajones, we've had voices. So you are going to be required to join in with something. And then the optional rule is you can wear a hat if you want. I haven't had this hat on for a long time, since the last time we did a live stream, but it's nice to get it on again. So before we start looking at the chords, I want to talk a little bit about this channel and the live streams. We have done a year of live streams now. There's well over 40 videos that we've covered on beginner level and adventurous level. If you look back at the history of this, the previous uploads for this channel, there are loads of songs. We've done over a year of weekly live streams, not counting summer breaks and Easter breaks. But I did not expect to be still doing this a year later. I must admit though, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work as well. After Easter, I will probably be changing something about the way we do this. We are going to be opening up a course again at Macclesfield Music Centre, which is going to be quite similar to these live streams, but it will be on a Zoom call. So it'll be actually on the call with me. You can ask me questions, we can do demos. So similar in structure, we'll do some songs for a term and we'll work through them together. We'll rehearse them on a Saturday morning. We'll go through the difficult chords. We'll look at new techniques, but we're basing it on a Zoom call. So you have that personal interaction with a tutor. If you would like to be part of that, it is open to everyone. If thousands of you sign up, then we'll have to find a different way of working on it. But we're not expecting thousands. Prove me wrong, internet. If you'd like to join up to that, it's going to be based through Macclesfield Music Centre. There's a link in the video description to their website. I'll show you what that looks like now. And we're going to transition to this one. Here we go. So this is Macclesfield Music Centre, link in the description. Once you're on this page, you can see there's details of the online courses. These courses work by you pay a termly fee. In this case, it's £40. But you can access multiple courses for that on Saturday mornings. You can join in actually up to 3 courses in some situations. Do read the details there. Once you get to this page, you can then find the sign up form, which is here. And you can sign up here. You put your details in. If you don't have a membership number, you're not a member of MMC yet, don't worry. Just leave that blank and we'll sign you up. Then you can choose, once you get down to here, on the course registration, online adventurous ukuleles. If you choose that course, that'll be the only one you can join first. But if you want to join a different course as well, then maybe have a look at some of the other ones. If you choose, say, advanced strings, then you can also choose adventurous ukuleles. So do investigate what other course options there are available. I'm going to transition back to the camera. Links for that is in the description. It'll be £40 for the whole term. You'll get 10 sessions with me on Zoom, and it's similar structure to what we do on a Saturday morning. So that means that the live streams, if they do happen, they won't be at the same time, because this is the time that we're normally doing the MMC sessions. So if we carry on with the live streams, they'll be at a different time, and they may be pre-recorded. Maybe I'll pre-record them first and then publish them at the same time. I don't know how it's going to work yet. Let me know in the comments, let me know in the email, write me a letter, tell me what you think. If you think it's a disastrous idea, let me know. I don't know until, if nobody signs up, then we'll carry on doing live streams. If thousands of people sign up, then I have to rethink how we do this. But we have to change something, so that's how it's going to work after Easter. What else to say? There are also links in there for the chords, score and chord chart, and links if you want to support me to keep making these videos, which is a bit weird knowing that they might be coming down less in numbers. So if you want to review your level of support, then you can do that at those links as well. There's a Patreon page and a PayPal page. I've talked enough. Let's do some music. So, video and PDF, transition. Here are the chords for my version, my arrangement of Fly Me to the Moon. At first sight, they look pretty scary. We've got a lot of sevenths, we've got a lot of major sevenths, we've got some minor 7 flat 5s, we've got some sus4s creeping in there. These are intimidating chords, adventurous, should we say. A lot of people, when they say, oh, how would I play that cool jazzy song? They look at the chords and they think, oh, I can't play that. It's quite intimidating when you see these chords. But I want to take a little bit at the start of this tutorial to explain where these chords come from and make you realise that they're not as unusual as you might think, and you don't need to be afraid of them. So let's have I'm going to have a briefly show you what it looks like when you Google "Fly Me to the Moon" chords. So I'm going to transition to the web page. I just typed into Google "Fly Me to the Moon" chords, and it took me to, as usual, Ultimate Guitar. Now, my first rule of music learning, or guitar lessons or ukulele lessons, is don't trust internet tabs. They're often right, and they are often wrong. And they're often full of adverts, and they will have to try and get you to sign up to all sorts of things. Don't even trust my internet tabs, for goodness sake. Use your ears. This is version number 4 from Ultimate Guitar. They are all different, and they all give different answers to the question, what are the chords of Fly Me to the Moon? I'm just going to set this back to the starting position. So when you Google "Fly Me to the Moon" chords, you end up normally with a chord sequence in the key of C. We'll worry about why that is in a minute. You can see we've got A minor 7, we've got D minor 7, we've got G7, we've got C major 7, we've got C7, we've got F major 7, flip a neck. Are there any normal chords here? B flat minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, E7. Is there anything without a 7th? The answer to that question is no, there isn't. But these chords, trying to remember what you're seeing here, we've got A minor 7s, D minor 7s, G7s, C major 7s, F major 7s, B minor 7 flat 5s are the main ones I want you to look at, E minor 7s, and a few others creeping in there. So I'm going to switch back to the camera. Where do these chords come from? Why can't they just stick to normal major or minor chords? So I'm going to take 10 minutes to explain why these chords aren't actually very far away from your normal major and minor chords. If you know this already, this is just a refresher. If this is new for you, then hopefully you learn something and learn not to be afraid of these jazz chords. So I'm going to attempt to swing the camera around and have a look at a keyboard. Much easier to show you this on a keyboard. Is this going to work? That's there. And I'm going to turn the light off to make it a little bit less bright because the keys are all white. There, but now we can see what's going on. So, hello! I'm still here. Can you hear this? Hopefully you can. So, on a keyboard, we have actually only 7 different notes. And if you know anything about how a keyboard is laid out, you know that the 2 black notes on their own repeat every few notes. In fact, every 7 notes, or every 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we're back to those 2 black notes again. And the way to locate your starting note of C is look for those 2 black notes on their own and go 1 down. There is our C. Now, the reason a piano is laid out like this is so that it makes it easy to play the C major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We talked a bit about this in our Making Friends with the Major Scale video. Do go back and check that if you want. So just playing the white notes from C to C gives us our C major scale. If we're in the key of C, those are the notes we are probably going to be using to play the melody. But we're not talking about melodies, we're talking about chords. So what I want to show you is the harmonized C major scale. If I take that major scale, start on the first note. Now if I play the next note of the scale at the same time, you can hear it sounds a bit clashy and horrible. But if I play the one after, if I skip that one out and play the next one, the C and the E, oh, it sounds a bit nicer. So let's use those 2. If I play the next one, bit clashy again, let's skip that one out and play the next one. Oh, that sounds okay. In fact, this is a C major chord. So we just take the note of the scale that we want to start on, skip the next one out, play the next one, skip one, play one, play them all together. We have 3 notes, a triad, and it's actually a C major triad. The reason it's a C major triad is because the interval between the first note and the second note we play, which is the 3rd note of the scale, is called a major third. A minor third sounds like this. Now we suddenly have a minor sounding chord. Are we still showing the right screen? Yes, we are. So we're on a major chord there. If I do the same thing but start on the second note of the scale, that's a D now. Bit clashy. Okay, sounding a bit nicer. Miss one out, play one. Now I've got a D minor triad. So our first chord was a C major. Our second chord was a D minor. Because that interval between the D and the next note we play is a minor third. And that's just the way that the order of the notes in the major scale are laid out, mean that the intervals, the first chord sounds like a major chord, the second chord sounds like a minor chord. And let's carry that process on. We do the same thing with E. We get an E minor chord. We get an F major chord. We get a G major chord. Let's just turn the mic round. We get an A minor chord. We get a strange chord here. A B diminished chord. And then we're back to our C major chord. So that is the major scale, but with a chord stacked up on each note. And if we think about those chords, C, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, C major, we've talked about them a lot. Those are all the chords we use in the key of C. And that's why I talk a lot about which chords do we need in the key of C, which chords do we need in a certain key. If we play a different major scale, say a G major scale, we have to use some of the black notes, so it becomes a little harder to think about on the piano to make it sound right, but the chords work out the same way. G major, A minor, B minor, C major. You can see we've got the same pattern of chords. First chord is major, second and third chords are minor, fourth and fifth chords are major, sixth chord is minor, the seventh chord is diminished, and then we're back to where we started. Now, how does this link in with jazz chords? Well, our C major chord consists of the first, the third, and the fifth. With jazz, when we're playing jazz, we almost always, like in this song, add a seventh to the chords. So let's work out what that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just the seventh note of the scale after the note I started from. So let's add that one in. We've got first, third, fifth, and seventh. This is a C major 7. So when you see C maj 7 written on, it's just an extended version of C major. We've got a seventh in there as well. This interval here is called a major 7th. It's different from a minor 7th. That note isn't in our scale, so we don't play that when we play this version of the 7th. And that, combined with the chord, gives us our extended 7th chord. So our chord number 1 with an extended version, our 7th version, is a C major 7. Let's try it with a D. D minor, there. Add a 7th note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a D minor with a minor 7th. This interval here is called a minor 7th because it's not a major 7th. It's the slightly lower version of the 7th, just based on the notes of our scale. So it's D minor with a minor 7th. And we shorten that to D minor 7. Same for the E minor 7. Major 7 would be there, minor 7 here. And then for our F, let's go down here so you can see it. Just shifted down the octave there. We've got another major 7th. Now for our G chord, this time we've got a minor 7th, not a major 7th, on top of a major chord. So this time, instead of a G major 7, it's a G7 we call it. We could call it G major with a minor 7th, but we normally say that like G7, G major 7. And we often call that a dominant 7th because this is the dominant chord, each note of the scale. Tonic, supertonic, can't remember the third one. Subdominant, dominant. We call this the dominant note of the scale, and so it's the 7th that lands up on the dominant note. It's called a dominant 7th. For the A minor, we get an A minor 7. For the B, we get from a diminished chord, we add this one. This is like a B minor chord, but the 5th this time has been flattened, and we add a minor 7th, and we have a B minor 7 flat 5, which is where that weird minor 7 flat 5 chord comes from. It's just an extended version of chord 7, which takes us back to chord 1 again. So those numbers come from harmonizing the major scale. Can we move this up again? This is a bit... oh, that's very close to my face. I do apologise, a bit early in the morning for that. Move the mic back again. Right, off, away from the keyboard and back to the ukulele. Let's go up slightly. And I'm going to check the chat to see if I've forgotten to do anything critical. No one said anything. So that's where these chords come from. They are just the major scale stacked up in thirds with an additional third on top, the seventh. And whatever that seventh happens to be determines the name of the chord. So if we do a seventh based on note number 1, the C, we end up with a C major 7 chord. But if we do it on the G, we end up with a G dominant 7th chord. If we do it on the B, we end up with a B minor 7 flattened 5th chord. The chords, the names of the chords are just trying to describe the really simple process of stacking the notes of the scale up in thirds with an extra one, with 4 notes this time. When we have a 4-note chord, it's a 7th of some kind, if we use that thirds rule. So that's where these chords come from. And if we look back at Fly Me to the Moon, the one on the website, I'm going to switch to that one. Oh, brief glimpse of YouTube there. You can see we've got A minor 7s, that was in our key. D minor 7s, that was in our key. G7, there's that dominant 7th coming in. We've got a C major 7, that was chord number 1. C7 doesn't fit in, let's skip that for now, but we've got an F major 7, that's chord number 4. B minor 7 flat 5, that's chord number 7. E7 and A7 don't fit in. Neither does F7, but E minor 7 does. That's chord 3. The others don't quite fit in quite as easily, but you can see the majority of the chords in the actual piece: A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, F major 7, B minor 7 flat 5, A minor 7. Most of the chords in the piece are completely within that normal, extended, harmonized C major scale. So we say the song is in the key of C. And this is why, if you ever encounter one of these extended chords, I don't know what an F major 7 is, or rather, I know what it is now because Tim explained it, but I don't know how to play it. We can skip it out. You can just play the non-extended version. So an F major 7 is just an extended version of an F major. So if you don't know what an F major 7 is, play an F major. This brings us back to our rule of, if you see numbers or extensions after a chord, you can leave off those extensions, provided you stick to the core harmony, which is the letter and whether it's major or minor. So if you see an E minor 7 flat 5, you don't know how to play the flat 5, you could just play an E minor 7. It would be similar. If you don't know how to play an E minor 7, you could just play an E minor. It would be similar, and it would do the same function musically, but you couldn't play an E major, for instance. So that's why that rule works. Those extended chords are just extensions of the normal triads that we play in any key. Right, that was hopefully our 10-minute tutorial on music theory done. Oh, I need to switch back. There we go, I forgot to switch back. That was our 10-minute extension into music theory done. Let's have a look at our actual chords for Fly Me to the Moon. And you'll immediately notice I'm not in the key of C. What's going on? Never trust internet tabs. I've put this into a different key. Frank Sinatra sings it in C, and he's got a lovely voice. One of the best, so I've heard. However, it's not the same as my voice, and so I changed the key, which means the notes the melody lands on suit my voice a little bit better. It might not suit your voice, but seeing as how I'm the one that's had to sing it, I get to choose the key. A key is interchangeable. If we shift the notes around, as long as we keep the same intervals, the melody will sound the same, but it will just be starting lower or starting higher, depending which key we choose. I've chosen the key of F major, which means the verse starts on the relative minor, which is D minor. But you notice the last chord of the piece is an F. Good sign there. And all of the majority of the chords in this piece you can find by harmonizing the F major scale, just extending it out into thirds. We have an F major 7, we have a G minor 7, we have an A minor 7, we have a B flat major 7, we have a C dominant 7, we have a D minor 7, and then we get this E minor 7 flat 5. And if you look through the chords, you'll see all of those chords mentioned. There are one or two curveballs in there, such as the F7 and the C sus4, and then the D7 and the A7. We often borrow chords from other keys to add a bit more tension in there, but the majority of these chords are in our key of F. Right, enough talking, Tim. Let's play some music. So grab your ukuleles, make sure they're in tune. I'm going to start with the verse of this song. So leave out the intro for now. We need to start with a D minor chord, but it's our extended version. It's a D minor 7. So our normal D minor, 2, 2, 1, 0. We need to add in a 7th note. That 0 on the A string is the same as our 2nd fret on the G string. So that's doubled up. Let's use that to add a 4th note. We're going to put our little finger down on the 3rd fret. We get a D minor 7. That's probably the hardest chord we play in this piece. But they're not going to be very familiar to you. But that's got all 4 fingers down in a shape that's a little bit hard to get to. Not too bad. We then need to do a G minor 7. So our normal G minor looks like this. 0, 2, 3, 1. But again, we've got some duplicated notes there. So we can change one of those to be the 7th. Let's drop it down. That's going from note A to note 7. There's our G minor 7. I'm playing that with a mini bar across across the 1st fret of the A and the E strings, and then 2nd fret there. So 0, 2, 1, 1. Then we've got a C7 chord. Here's our normal C. In this case, it's this note that's duplicated. We've got a C here and a C here. They are an octave apart, but we can change one of them without losing anything. So let's drop that C down to a 7th, note 8 to note 7. There's our C7. That should be familiar to a lot of you. F major 7 is a tricky one to play on the uke. The doubled note in the F chord is actually the A, which is the 3rd. That's not the one I want to change to a 7th, so I can't easily replace that. Turns out there's a nice, easy way to play it, but it's all the way up here, fret 5. I love that chord. Fret 5, 0, 0. Stacks up our notes, and we happen to have an F major 7 chord there. We then need to change it to an F dominant 7. We've borrowed a chord from a different key there, so that 7th. That note needs to come down by 1 semitone to that note. That's to the minor 7th version. So it's an F major with a minor 7th, better known as an F dominant 7. We play that like a normal F, adding in your ring finger to the C string on the 3rd fret. I'm drifting off the edge of the screen there. There's our F7. Let's see if we can do those 4 chords in sequence. So, D minor 7, followed by G major 7, followed by C7, followed by in quick succession an F major 7 and an F dominant 7. F major 7, F dominant 7. So to get from one to the other there, I play the F major 7 with my 2nd and 3rd fingers, so that then these 2 fingers are on the right strings for the F dominant 7. So I slide them down, release the pressure, keep them on the strings though, slide them down to frets 2 and 3, then join in my 1st finger for the F dominant 7. So F major 7, F7, F major 7, F7. It's quite a quick change, but it's not that hard if you play this one with your 2nd and 3rd fingers. 2nd line of the verse, don't worry, it does get easier after this. We've got a B flat major 7. Crikey, all these new chords, Tim. I can't even play a B flat. Yes, you can. It's just an A shifted up by a fret. That's a B flat chord. And if we want to turn it into a B flat major 7, we've got a duplicated note there. We can change one of those. Let's change that one. Drop it by a semitone to a major 7th. 3 fingers in a diagonal row, a bit like an E minor chord, but this time on frets 1, 2 and 3 on the 3 strings nearest your head. Beautiful chord again. B flat major 7, E minor 7 flat 5. Don't worry, it's not that bad. It is just like an F chord, but shifted over by a string. Again, one of my favourites. I love these chords. If you think about it, it's very like an E minor 7. We normally play an E minor 7 like this. And this chord is an E minor 7, but with a flattened 5th. This is the 5th, so we flatten it. E minor 7 with a flat 5. Turns out to be an easy one. That's one of my favourite chords in this piece. Sounds complicated, sounds great, easy to play. Then we've got an A7, finally another 1-fingered chord. There's our normal A, but we need to turn that into a 7th. This is a dominant 7, so we drop it by 2 semitones. There's our A7. And then the end of the second line uses our D minor 7 again. Quickly switching to a D major 7. And when we get to this bit, I often actually only play a D minor and a D major. I'm using my own rule. If you're not sure about the 7th or it's too hard to play, just play the core chord, the root part of it. The D minor and the D major work just as well. And a lot easier to change between. So that second line sounds like this. E flat major 7, E flat minor 7 flat 5, A7, then D minor and D major. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's try the first 2 lines together. 1, 2, 3, 4. D minor 7, G minor 7, C7, F major 7 and F7, B flat major 7, E flat minor 7 flat 5, A7, D minor and D major. Good. If that was too fast for you, you can rewind the video, slow it down using the little cog at the bottom right of the screen down there somewhere. You can change the playback speed to 70%, 60%, 75%, 90%, 120% if you want to play it faster, but probably not needed there. The next 2 lines of the verse are quite similar to each other. We do a very similar sequence again. Verse 1 has a tricky little chord sequence in. This is from the Frank Sinatra version, I've borrowed this. But if it's too tricky, you could just play the same sequences in verse 2. So a little bit of get out of jail free card there. The third line of verse 2 is similar but slightly easier. But the third line of verse 1, we're back on our G minor 7 chord. In other words, our C7 again. Hold my hand. Oop, F major 7. Followed by a B flat 7, borrowing a chord from another key here. And then an A minor 7. We could play it like this, or like this. Or we could lose the 7th and just play it like this. Lots of alternatives there. So we've got F major 7, B flat 7, A minor 7, and then a D7. And each of those chords is 2 beats long. I've written this version of the B flat 7 into the chord chart. When I was recording it, I caught myself playing this version. Which is closer to the F major 7. It's basically this G7 shape here, and I'm getting the note nearest my head with my thumb on the 3rd fret. So 3, 5, 4, 5. I think it actually sounds a little bit better. It's closer to the F major 7 and the A minor 7. But it will work just as well using the chords on the chart. F major 7, B flat 7, A minor 7, D7. That chord sequence is weird. Doesn't feel entirely intuitive, but it works. Each of those chords is kind of on the way somewhere else till we get back to the 4th line, which is G minor 7, C7, F major 7, that's the same as the 3rd line, and then we turn it around with 2 quick chords, E minor 7 flat 5, A7. Whenever we want to go back to the start, those are the 2 chords we use, the E minor 7 flat 5, A7, that's our turnaround, brings us back into the start of the pattern again. Really wants to go back to the D minor after that A7. So, the whole verse, nice and steady. 1, 2, 3, 4. D minor 7, then G minor 7, C7, F major 7, F7, B flat major 7, E minor 7 flat 5, A7, D minor 7 and D major 7, sorry, D7, G minor 7, C7. Quick chords here, F major 7, B flat 7, A minor 7, D7, G minor 7, C7, F major 7, and then turn around, E minor 7 flat 5, A7. Fly me to, and there we go, we're back into the start of our pattern again. Now, If you kept up with that the first time you played it, then virtual high five. It's not an easy sequence. I practiced the heck out of that last night in order to do the video. I'm not expecting that to just drop out to your fingers. It's not easy. It's quite adventurous. I'm stretching you. If a teacher only asks you to do things that you can already do, you ain't learning anything. So I am deliberately making this quite tricky so that you become a more adventurous player. And hopefully you understand about where these chords come from. If any of them are just impossible for you, strip off the numbers. Stay with the core chord and you'll get by. Or even just Google the chords yourself and play it in a different key. The A minor version of this song isn't that hard. It's probably slightly easier to play, but I felt like putting it in a new key because the pitch suits my voice better and it was more fun to play and the chords were closer together. They sounded better to me. That's the decision you can make as a musician. So how are we doing on time? It's 10 to 10. Let's have a quick look at the second verse, which is very, very similar and in fact slightly easier. So we'll whiz through until we find the differences. So I'm going to sing the second verse and I'm going to stop when we get to something new. So we're going to start with our D minor 7. A bit slower here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. D minor 7. Fill my heart with song. G minor 7. And let me C7. Sing forevermore. F major 7 and F7. B flat major 7. You are all I long. E flat, E minor 7 flat 5. Long for all A7. I worship and adore. D minor, D major. In other words, there's our G minor 7, C7. Please be A minor 7 this time. This is different from the first verse. Please be true. You can play that A minor 7 there, or there, or there, however you want to play it. I like it here. True, D7. Again, those two chords are different from the first time. In other words, and this time we stop on the C7. I love, and then these last two chords. This last is not an F major 7, it's an F6. And I'm going to use my own rule here, and I'm not going to play an F6. F6 is tricky with an open F. If I add in the 6th, I lose the 5th, and it turns it into a D minor chord. You can play an F6, though it's up here, all the way across the strings on the 5th fret. I have put that on the sheet I see now. On the video I think I play it down here. I used my own rule and skipped off the 6 and just played a normal F. So that last line is very slightly different in feel and the extension of the F chord. We get this, in other words, stop on the C7, I love you, turn it around if you want to. Okay, that's our second verse. Very similar to the first. Easier third line. We use that A minor and D7 instead of the weird chord sequence that Frank Sinatra uses to start with. And then that last line has an option for finishing it. If we don't want to turn around and start again, we just hold that F6 chord at the end. The only other chord to tell you about is the ones in the outro. Now this is one I've tagged on. There are hundreds of different versions of this song. They all use subtly different chord variations, different keys. The chords at the end of the Frank Sinatra version are weird. I don't think they work very well, so I've chosen not to do them. I've done my own little outro here. Feel free to look up the originals if you want. So all I've done is when we've come to the end of verse 2 and we want to finish, in other words, I love you, but on that U, instead of going to an F6, I go to that B flat minor, C sus4, and then I go to the F6. So that B flat minor is like definitely not in our key, but the B flat major is actually the subdominant of the key. So I've really kind of taken a expected chord and stuck it in with a completely unexpected version of it, and then C sus4, adding a bit of tension. It is in our key, but we're adding a suspended fourth, resolving it to the F chord or the F6 chord. So that's my own addition to the arrangement. Feel free to use your own. So we're going to play through the whole piece in a minute. I'm checking the time. Yeah, it's 5 to 10. We've done all right. I realise I've gone through this very quickly. It's adventurous, this. That's deliberate. Let me check the chat, see how we're getting on. The Flints are doing okay. I think I understand it a bit better now. Thanks, Tim. Hooray! My life is complete. So hopefully more of you understand the chords, where they come from, and you're not so afraid of them. And if they're too much, you understand it up here but not in your fingers, drop off those numbers. It certainly didn't just drop out to the fingers. No, but I'm pushing you. This may be our last live stream for a while, and I want to make you all better, more adventurous players, musicians, shall we say, rather than just ukulele players. Guys, we're going to play through the whole song. I hope that's okay. Some of you are still watching. Those of you who are going to watch after this, I hope you have made it to the end. I've done all my spiel already, so I don't need to tell you about supporting me on Patreon or PayPal. I don't need to tell you about joining the new MMC course, where you get to actually have live tuition with me on Zoom. Do join the mailing list if you want to know updates about channel information. That's also in the video description. And those of you who are interested, I am a dad again. We pleased to welcome Emily Naomi Elizabeth Sparks into our family. I was hoping to show you her on camera, but I'm not hearing any noises, which means she's probably fast asleep. So another time I'll smuggle my whole family onto the video again. This one was a bit adventurous for Sophia to have a go at, and we're also somewhat busy with feeding and changing nappies and looking after a little girl, which is I thought I knew how to do this parent thing, but it's certainly, can you tell I'm a bit ragged around the edges? Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. We're going to play through the whole of Fly Me to the Moon. Good luck. I should say that the intro, which we haven't talked about, is just the last line of verse 1. So there's nothing new in there. Let me know in the chat is anything that I have missed out, and I'll cover it at the end. Otherwise, let's play through this and see how we go. We're still streaming? Yeah? All right. So, Fly Me to the Moon. Oh, strumming pattern. Thankfully, there's not much to explain. In the demo there, I was just strumming once per chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the original video, I'm just strumming once per beat. I'm using the same technique as I used in All of Me, which is this on the beat strumming pattern, and then releasing the chord in between each strum so it breaks the sound a little bit. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, that was a funny note, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, just releasing the pressure on the strings, keeping them in the same place, so that some of the strings get muted. A lot of these chords are open chords though. For instance, F major 7, if I release the fingers, I still get some notes. So it's not quite as clean and as broken as we could do with All of Me, but it still gives us this kind of broken jazz swing feel. And of course the swing pattern is there. It's normally in between the chords, and I'm not often playing the actual note there, but my upstroke is delayed slightly. So on the D minor chord, instead of going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and even if I do the break, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that's a straight pattern. I'm not using a straight pattern, I'm using a swing pattern where I delay the upstroke, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Technically we're dividing the beat into 3, and I'm moving the upstroke back to the last third of the beat. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But the best way to play a swing is to feel it. That's the strumming pattern, playing on the beat, releasing the chord between the beats, and doing an upstroke on the swung quaver in between the beats, on the last third of the beat. Okay, let's do this whole piece. Fly Me to the Moon. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. Intro.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other
and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Turn around. Instrumental, first verse. Verse again. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love outro you. There we go, complete with 3 mistakes for you to avoid. Guys, I hope you managed to keep up, at least at half speed, and I hope we've stretched your chord knowledge a little bit. We've done the key of F today, which we haven't done that many songs in, and not only the key of F, we've done all the jazz chords in the key of F, all the 7th versions. So big tick to you guys who've made it so far. It's 10:05. I'm going to stop here and see you again soon. There will be more videos on this channel. I don't know when the live streams will happen, so watch this space. There won't be a session next weekend, because it's the Easter holidays, so I will see you guys after Easter in some shape or form, and hopefully by then lockdown is on its way out. But it's brought us wonderful joys like being able to do live stream YouTube ukulele sessions, so it ain't all bad, folks. I hope you're all well. See you again next time.